Well, if you haven't heard tonight's guest songs on the radio, you haven't been paying attention. Whether he's written them or recorded them himself, David Lee Murphy has had a ton of success on country radio since the 1990s, and he joins the Honky Tonk Time Machine right now. David, it's an honor to have you on the show. Thanks for doing this.
It's good to be with you, man. Thanks for having me.
You know, I was just talking with you before we came on the air here that I grew up listening to your music in Perryville, Missouri is where I'm from. Of course, K103 covers Southeast Missouri, Southern Illinois. And all that time, I had no idea that you are actually from our neck of the woods. You're from Herrin, Illinois, which is in our listening area. So it makes this interview just a little more special, I think.
Yeah, man. It's I've always considered Cape Girardeau area, Southeast Missouri, like my stomping grounds as well. I mean, just growing up and, you know, like I watched Channel 12, you know, that was one of our TV stations that we watched, and bought one of my first guitars in Cape Girardeau. So, you know, I just, that little tri-state area there, that was a great place to grow up, and I'm proud to be from that little part of the world.
So we know the where. It all started for you in Herrin, Illinois. I guess from there, give us the how. How'd you end up in Nashville, Tennessee, writing and recording songs for country radio?
You know, I just always loved music. I love playing music, and I like listening to, you know, music, and it's just something that I was always drawn to do. My mom and dad both, you know, they played church music. You know, it's funny, there's so many country singers, their families grew up playing church music and gospel music, and pretty much that's how they learned to sing. And I look back on it, probably like singing harmonies and stuff like that. I think everybody probably learned somehow or the other playing church music, then just listening to records all the time, you know, and trying to figure out how to play different licks like, you know, Sweet Home Alabama or Mama Tried or Lukenbach, Texas, whatever it was, just trying to figure out how to play that song.
You know, it's crazy. We've been doing this show for over 20 weeks now, and almost every single artist I've talked to has mentioned, you know, singing in church as one of the ways they got started in music. It seems to be a common thread.
Well, you grow up, you know, and that's just part of your life. And I think that's, you know, you just hear that music and that's the beginning of it. So, real fortunate to have had that.
At what point did you decide, you know, I'm pretty good at this, I'm going to, you know, try my hand in Nashville, Tennessee? When did that happen?
I was probably 20, 21 when I started going in Nashville. Of course, you know, for us, that's just that's a couple hours drive. That's
right.
Not like you're driving from California to go to Nashville. So, I mean, I could be in Nashville in 3.5 hours from Southern Illinois, even back when, you know, you're driving on windy 2-lane roads to get down there. But I was young, you know, and I loved going to Nashville. It was just I couldn't wait to get down there, and it wasn't anything like it is now, but it was a lot of fun.
When you went, were you thinking, you know, I want to be a songwriter? Were you thinking I wanted to be a recording artist? Did you know at that time what you wanted to do?
You know, I wanted to write songs, and I wanted to play music, and I had little bands that played all over the area, you know, here and there whenever I was just old enough to get in bars. And back in those days, it was 18. So, you know, ever since I was, you know, able to go and play, I just wanted to play all the time. And then, you know, I didn't really know. I had high hopes, you know, but you don't ever really want to just kind of lay it all out on the line and say, this is what I'm going to do. You just kind of hedge your bet a little bit. And fortunately, I got to do what I wanted to do, which was write songs and sing them at the same time. So it worked out, but it was a tough road to get. You know, they said there's a 10-year plan in Nashville that takes 10 years, and that's kind of, and not always, but for most of us, it's true.
Is that about what it took?
Yeah, it really did. I mean, it takes a long time. I mean, I think from the early 80s to the early 90s, it took me to really get a record deal. But I had some songs cut in that time period as a songwriter, but to get a record deal as an artist, it took me about 10 years.
And it seems like everybody I talk to, that's the case. You know, they go, they start writing songs, they get those songs cut, and then you start getting more and more attention. What were some of those songs that were cut before you got your big break? Anything we'd know?
I didn't really have anything big cut. I had Reba cut one of my songs. Doug Stone cut one of my songs. The Maines brothers, which was Natalie Maines from the Dixie Chicks, her dad had a band down in Texas.
Huh.
They cut one of my songs. I had Adobe Gray cut one of my songs, but it was nothing that was like a famous single or anything like that. It was just good for me that an artist somewhere recorded one of my songs. That just kind of gave me a little bit of confidence that maybe I can do this.
A little bit of confidence, a little bit of credibility. And then 1994, the first single for you, Just Once. It was a top 40 single for you, and you had a song out on the radio. How did that feel?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I remember I had an old Mercury Marquis. It was like one of those big land yachts, you know. And I was living in Ashland City at the time, which is just north of Nashville, and we had a big snowstorm. And I remember Just Once had just come out, and it went with the 8-second soundtrack, the movie 8 Seconds.
Yeah.
The first time I heard myself on the radio. And they talk about people who always say they pull their car over to the side of the road, and I literally just had to pull over for a second and listen to it, just because it was a culmination of all those years of struggling and, you know, all the things that I had to do to stay in the game. And it was a great experience just to hear that song for the first time.
How long did you get to enjoy that before pressure started to set in to, you know, follow that up with another radio single?
I don't really feel like there's pressure. It's just fun now for me creating songs. It's every day I go write, you know, with either an artist or a producer or other songwriters, and we just try to write something that somebody might want to cut. And it's fun. It's fun sometimes just trying to write a song. Say, hey, we're going to write a song for Jason Aldean today, or we're going to try to write it. And that doesn't mean he's going to cut it, but it's fun just saying we're going to try to write a song for Kenny, or we're going to try to write a song for Luke, or, you know, whoever might be getting ready to cut, you record at that time. So it's a lot of fun to be a songwriter, and it's just I'm fortunate that I get to do something that I love, and I look forward to going in to write every day.
So Just Once, you know, it was a top 40 hit, nice to have, I'm sure, but then the big hits started rolling after that. 1995 was a really good year for you. Party Crowd comes out, and that one I just read was the most played song of 1995, which is pretty good, and honestly one of my favorite songs. It's got to rank pretty high in your list too.
Man, that's right there. I'll always remember that as being like my first hit. That was my first hit. I mean, Just Once was really amazing. It was a kind of a breakthrough song, but we were trying to pick the songs that were going to come on the album, and Party Crowd was it was just one of those songs that had all the things that I loved about all those songs, like, you know, Lukenbach, Texas, and Good Hearted Woman, and all those fun party songs that you grew up listening to. It was a good time, Saturday night, windows rolled down, let's just party. And it was just a fun song, and I still love playing it. It
was one of the first songs I thought of for this show, because we're all about that good time Saturday night, kind of creating like this virtual honky tonk atmosphere. So you think Party Crowd, you know, laughing over here, fighting over there. It just fits what we do so well. So that's why we definitely wanted to have you on the show to talk about that. But you follow it up with Dust on the Bottle, which is, I would think, your biggest hit, at least that you've recorded. Would you agree?
Yes, it is. It is, by far. That thing, you know, it's still like streams almost 1 million times a month or whatever.
Wow.
You know, it's crazy that song has been around for that many years, and it's just been a blessing to have that song. I feel real fortunate that I was able to write that. You never know where they're going to come from, and that's just one that is always going to be, it's one of my favorites to play live for sure.
And when I think of David Lee Murphy, I think about mainly those two songs, Party Crowd and Dust on the Bottle. When you write songs like those, were you thinking that you were going to cut them, or were you thinking about letting other artists have those songs?
No, I was going to cut. Those were going to be mine because I was writing for my project at the time. I was just writing for me when I wrote those. And I actually wrote Dust on the Bottle while I was making my record, my Out With a Bang record, which was my first album. So that came in right on the tail end of the whole thing, which was really cool too because it was brand new whenever I recorded it.
Well, those two songs right there would have been enough for a lot of artists to just be like, well, I made it. I'm done. I'm happy with that. I'll just go live on an island somewhere. But you weren't done. You kept recording through the mid to late 90s. I would say probably right there at the tail end of the 90s, though, is when you decided to take a break from recording music and focus on writing songs for other artists. Is that about right?
Yeah, I had just started writing songs. My kids, I had 3 kids, and like 2 of them that I had kind of pretty much missed their entire first couple of years of growing up because I was on the road all the time. They just saw their dad leaving shaggy-haired and cowboy boots with a guitar, getting on a bus, going somewhere. And so I missed a lot of their childhood, and I regret that. So on my 3rd kid, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to stick around here and be with my kids for a while. So I did that till probably they got old enough to where I just said, you know what, okay. So I started writing songs just like I was writing anyway, but I just started writing songs, and I started getting a few cuts here and there, and then I just started getting more cuts, and so it was just that's just kind of how it worked out.